Ladies and gentlemen, there will come a time in your life, perhaps many times, when the world will whisper to you, "It's too hard." When the odds seem too great, the pain too real, and the path forward hidden in the shadows. And in that moment, you will have a choice to make. You can surrender, or you can try. Understand this. There is no excuse for not trying. None. Not your background, not your past, not your fear, not your failures. Life doesn't hand out guarantees. It doesn't always reward the ones who dream the biggest, or even the ones who work the hardest. Sometimes, life will knock you down before you've even stood up. Sometimes, it will test you before you know what the test is. But let's be honest. There's no life without struggle. There's no path forward that doesn't include some measure of pain, doubt, or resistance. We need to start by understanding that struggle is not something to be ashamed of. It is not proof that you're weak or unworthy. Struggle is simply part of the journey. It's the friction that creates momentum. It's the resistance that builds strength. Too often, we see struggle as a sign that we're doing something wrong. But in reality, it's often the clearest indicator that we are doing something real. We must learn to normalize difficulty, especially in a world that constantly tells us everything should come easy. Social media shows you the highlight reel, not the process. It shows you the wins, not the wounds. So when things get hard, we start to feel like we're the only ones facing darkness. But that's a lie. Everyone is carrying something: grief, uncertainty, pressure. You're not alone in this. No one walks through life untouched by difficulty. The difference between those who move forward and those who stay stuck isn't about who had it easier. It's about who decided to keep going when things got hard. The truth is, struggle is not the enemy. It's the classroom. It's where you learn your limits, but more importantly, where you learn that you can push past them. It's where your character is refined, where your resilience is formed, where your purpose is clarified. No story worth telling ever came without adversity. No person of impact ever rose without having to fight through something. And yet, in the face of struggle, we often reach for excuses. We say, "It's too much," or "I don't have enough time," or "I'll do it when I'm ready." But those excuses don't come from laziness. They come from pain, from being tired, from being hurt, from the fear that maybe you'll try and it still won't be enough. That's real. That's human. But even when you feel all of that, even when your hands are shaking and your mind is full of doubt, you still have a choice. You can either accept the struggle and move through it, or you can let it become the reason you stop. What we need to understand is this: you don't need to have all the answers to begin. You don't need to feel strong to take the first step. You just need to stop waiting for the struggle to disappear and start learning how to walk with it. Start learning how to carry the weight without letting it bury you. And once you do that, you'll find that your struggle no longer defines you. It sharpens you. There are people who have less than you who are still trying. There are people who've faced more than you who've chosen not to quit. Not because they're better, not because they're special, but because they've understood this one truth: the world doesn't owe you ease, but you owe it to yourself to keep moving. Your pain doesn't disqualify you, it prepares you. Your failures don't mark the end. They're just part of the building blocks of who you're becoming. And your struggle, it might just be the greatest gift if you're willing to learn from it instead of running from it. So when you hear that voice in your head saying, it's too hard, don't deny it, but don't obey it either. Let it speak and then keep going anyway. Because there is no excuse for not trying. Not even the struggle, especially not the struggle. Because it's through the struggle that you will rise. Keep showing up. Keep trying. Let the struggle teach you, but never let it stop you. Every single day, whether we realize it or not, we're making choices. Some of them seem small. What time to wake up, how we speak to others, what we spend our attention on. Others feel massive. What career to pursue, how to respond to failure, whether to keep going when things get hard. But all of them, big and small, shape the direction of our lives. And here's the truth. We might not be able to control everything that happens to us, but we can always control what we do with it. You were never promised a perfect path. Nobody is. Life is unpredictable. It throws setbacks, heartbreak, and pressure your way when you least expect it. You may be handed less than others. You may start later. You may face more obstacles. But none of that takes away from your power to choose how you respond. That power, that ability to choose, is what separates those who survive from those who rise. People often believe they're stuck because of their circumstances. They think, if only I had more time, more money, more support, then I would try, then I would succeed. But that kind of thinking is a trap. It convinces you that your situation decides your future. It makes you forget that within every moment, no matter how limited your options seem, you still have a decision to make. Will you try or will you wait? Will you lean in or will you lean back? Will you become a prisoner of your conditions or will you take the first step forward anyway? What's powerful is this. Some of the greatest achievements in history came from people who had every reason to stop. They were underestimated, undervalued. They came from broken homes, broken systems, broken moments. And still, they chose to try. That's what greatness really is. It's not just talent. It's not just timing. It's choice. Over and over again. A choice to keep showing up when it's not easy. A choice to keep giving when no one is watching. A choice to believe that your effort matters even when you can't see the results yet. You don't need anyone's permission to start trying. You don't need a perfect plan. You don't need to feel completely ready. What you need is to recognize the power you already have. The power to choose effort over excuses. That's not just a motivational line. That's reality. Excuses can't build dreams. Excuses can't write books, start businesses, graduate students, raise families, or change lives. Only action can do that. And action begins with a choice. Some people think choice is only for the privileged, that it's only for the people who already have a head start. But that's not true. In fact, some of the most powerful choices are made in the dark, when nothing feels certain, when everything feels unfair. Choosing to stand up again after you've fallen. Choosing to speak when your voice shakes. Choosing to take the first step even when you can't see the second. These aren't easy choices, but they're yours to make. And make no mistake, choosing to try doesn't mean you won't fail. It doesn't guarantee success, but it guarantees growth. It guarantees that you won't be standing in the same place 6 months from now, wishing you had started. It guarantees that you'll learn and build resilience and develop the kind of strength that doesn't fade when life gets tough. Trying is how you reclaim control. It's how you stop letting your circumstances write your story. Because in the end, it's not the conditions of your life that define you. It's the decisions you make within them. It's not about what you had when you started. It's about what you chose to do with what you had. You always have a choice, even if it's hard, even if it's uncomfortable, even if it takes everything you have today and asks for even more tomorrow. You still have that power inside you. The question is, will you use it? Because no matter what your past looks like, no matter how heavy the present feels, and no matter how far the future seems, there is still power in your hands. The power to try, the power to begin, the power to choose. And once you understand that, excuses lose their grip. Once you claim that truth, the world may still challenge you, but it won't define you. So stand up, not when it's easy, not when it's perfect, but now, right now. You can't control everything, but you can always control this. You can try. There is something deeply human about effort. It is one of the few things we all have access to, regardless of status, background, or circumstance. It doesn't require perfection. It doesn't demand you know everything or have it all figured out. But it does require one thing: responsibility. Effort is not optional. It is not a favor you do for the world. It is your responsibility. First to yourself, then to everyone who believes in you, and finally to the world that needs what you have to give. Because whether or not you realize it, your effort affects more than just you. It shapes the people who are watching you, learning from you, depending on you. When you decide not to try, you're not just letting yourself down, you're putting a pause on everything your life could have touched. We live in a time where distractions are endless and excuses come easy. It's easy to say, maybe later, or I don't feel like it today. It's easy to wait until motivation strikes or the conditions feel right. But the truth is, responsibility doesn't wait for inspiration. It demands discipline. It requires that you show up, not because you feel like it, but because you committed to something bigger than comfort. The effort you give today may not yield immediate results. You might not see the reward right away. You may not be recognized, thanked, or applauded. But responsibility isn't about recognition. It's about integrity. It's about what you choose to do when no one is watching, when the room is empty, when the stage is gone, when it's just you, your values, and your future. Trying, even when you're tired, even when you're unsure, is how you prove to yourself that your goals mean more to you than your excuses. That your purpose means more than your pride. That you're willing to take ownership of your story instead of waiting for someone else to write it for you. There's a difference between interest and responsibility. Being interested means you'll show up when it's convenient. Being responsible means you'll show up regardless. Because you've made a decision. You won't just wish for something. You'll work for it. That doesn't mean you'll get it right every time. You won't. You'll fall short. You'll stumble. You'll doubt yourself. But responsibility isn't about never failing. It's about never walking away from the effort it takes to rise again. Effort is what honors the people who sacrificed for you, your parents, your teachers, your mentors, your ancestors. They didn't carry you this far just so you could stop when it gets hard. They didn't dream, fight, and push just so you could live in fear of discomfort. You owe it to them to keep going. Not with perfection, but with consistency. More than that, you owe it to yourself. Not the version of you that wants things to be easy, but the version that knows the value of what you're chasing. Because every day you show up and put in the work, you're proving to yourself that you can be trusted, that you won't break every time pressure comes, that you can carry the weight of your own dreams. And make no mistake, your effort matters. It matters more than talent, more than timing, more than luck. Because effort compounds, it builds habits, it builds character, it builds a life that, while not free from struggle, is rich in purpose. Effort is how you move forward one step at a time, not in giant leaps, not in viral moments, but in quiet, steady progress. And every time you choose effort over ease, you strengthen the foundation of your future. That's why this isn't just about trying. It's about why you try. You try because you know your life has meaning. You try because you believe in potential, even if it's not fully visible yet. You try because people are counting on you, even if they haven't said it out loud. You try because someone somewhere is waiting to see that it's possible. And when you begin to see effort not just as a tool, but as a responsibility, your mindset shifts. It's no longer about what's easy. It's about what's necessary. It's about honoring your purpose, showing up for your own growth, and refusing to let the noise of excuses drown out the call of your potential. So the next time you feel like quitting, ask yourself, what do I owe to the person I'm becoming? Because the answer is simple. You owe them effort. Not once, not occasionally, but every day. Because effort is not a gift. It's your duty. Fear is natural. It's one of the oldest human instincts. It's designed to protect us from pain, from danger, from uncertainty. But what happens when fear stops protecting us and starts controlling us? What happens when fear becomes the reason we sit still instead of standing up, stay quiet instead of speaking, give up before we've even begun? There's a kind of fear we don't talk about enough. It doesn't always come loud and dramatic. It's quiet, subtle, and often disguised as logic or self-preservation. It says things like, what if I fail? Or what if I'm not good enough? Or what if people laugh at me? And at first glance, these questions seem fair, reasonable even. But if you look deeper, they aren't just questions. They're walls. They are the invisible barriers we build to protect our comfort at the expense of our calling. Fear of failure is real, but you know what's more powerful? Regret. Regret doesn't come all at once. It builds slowly over time. It shows up in quiet moments when you think about what could have been. It lingers in the silence when you realize you had a chance to try and didn't take it. And unlike fear, regret doesn't come from outside you. It comes from within. People often think fear is the worst feeling. But the truth is, fear passes. Regret doesn't. Fear shows up before the moment. Regret lives long after it. And while fear may be uncomfortable, regret is unbearable. Because regret has a voice. And it whispers questions you can't always answer. What if I just tried? What if I hadn't listened to the doubt? What if I'd been just a little bit braver? We convince ourselves that not trying keeps us safe, that staying still means we won't fall. But the reality is, not trying doesn't save you. It slowly breaks you. It steals your confidence. It shrinks your potential. And one day, you'll look back not with the satisfaction of playing it safe, but with the ache of never knowing what you were capable of. Yes, trying is risky. You might fall. You might fail. You might face criticism. But if you don't try, you've already failed. You've failed to honor your potential. You've failed to take the shot you were meant to take. You've failed to give yourself a chance. And the truth is, fear and regret don't play by the same rules. Fear is loud in the moment, but weak in the long run. Regret is quiet at first, but it stays with you. So when you're afraid to begin, afraid to put yourself out there, afraid to take the next step, ask yourself, would I rather be afraid for a moment or regretful for a lifetime? You see, courage isn't the absence of fear. Courage is choosing to act despite the fear. It's saying, yes, I'm scared, but I won't let that stop me. It's recognizing that every person who has ever achieved something meaningful started from the same place, uncertainty. They weren't fearless. They were just willing to move forward anyway. Every great story, every invention, every revolution, every personal transformation began with someone facing fear and deciding to try anyway. They chose action over paralysis, growth over comfort, purpose over fear. That same choice is available to you. Don't wait for the fear to disappear. It won't. Don't wait for the perfect time. It won't come. Start now with whatever you have, from wherever you are. Not because the fear is gone, but because you refuse to let it define you. Because here's the truth, fear will cost you far less than regret ever will. Fear may test your courage. Regret will test your soul. Fear may bruise your ego. Regret will haunt your spirit. And one day when you look back, the scars from trying will feel like medals, but the silence from never trying, that will feel like loss. So you have a choice. You can live in fear of what might happen, or you can try and see what could happen. Maybe you succeed, maybe you stumble. But either way, you'll know, you'll grow, you'll live. The question isn't, what if I fail? The real question is, what if I never try? And that right there is where you take your power back, not by erasing the fear, but by refusing to let it speak louder than your purpose. Every moment you try, truly try, you are building more than just a life. You're building a legacy. Legacy isn't just what you leave behind when you're gone. It's what you create while you're here. It's the imprint of your courage, your effort, your decisions on the lives of others. And whether you realize it or not, someone is watching you. Someone is learning from you. Someone is being shaped by your willingness to show up and do the hard work. We tend to think legacy is something only great people leave behind. Presidents, artists, athletes, leaders whose names are etched in history books. But that's not the whole story. Legacy isn't about fame. It's about impact. It's about how your presence changes a room, how your persistence inspires others to believe they can overcome. It's about how your resilience echoes in someone else's journey, long after you've moved on. And the beauty of it is, you don't need to have everything figured out to begin. You don't need a platform, a title, or a spotlight. You just need the discipline to try when it's hard and the heart to care when it's easier not to. That's what builds legacy. Effort, repeated, honest, consistent. Legacy grows in the small, often unseen moments when you choose to keep going, even when quitting seems easier. When you show up early to work, not because someone's watching, but because you hold yourself to a standard. That's legacy. When you comfort someone, support them, teach them how to rise. That's legacy. When you stand back up after failure and say, I'm not done yet. That's legacy. It lives in your example. In your willingness to make effort a habit, not just an event. People think legacy is built in grand gestures. But the truth is, it's built in daily choices. In the way you speak to your children, in the effort you give to your education, in how you treat strangers, in how you persevere when no one claps for you. That's where character is formed. That's where reputation is earned. That's where legacy is born. You may not see it today. You may not feel like your work matters. But someone, somewhere is watching you. They may never say it out loud. But when they see you persist, when they see you try even with tears in your eyes, when they watch you honor your word, that shapes them. That gives them permission to believe it's possible for them. 2, legacy is contagious. Effort inspires effort. Discipline fuels discipline. When you decide to live with intention, you raise the bar for everyone around you, not by demanding more from them, but by expecting more from yourself. The next generation is watching, and they're not just listening to what we say. They're studying how we live. They're observing how we handle failure, how we respond to setbacks, how we show love and lead with humility. What we do teaches louder than what we preach. So ask yourself, what kind of legacy are you building? One of avoidance, or one of courage, one of excuses, or one of action? Every time you choose to try, you're casting a vote for the kind of person you are and the kind of impact you'll leave behind. And don't fall into the trap of thinking that legacy is something that starts later. It starts now. With the effort you give in this season, with the way you treat the opportunities in front of you, even if they don't seem perfect, legacy begins the moment you stop living for applause and start living with purpose. You're not just working for today. You're building something that will outlive you. Your discipline could become the foundation someone else stands on. Your story could become the blueprint for someone else's courage. Your consistency could become the light someone else uses to find their way. So when you feel tired, when you feel like no one sees your effort, remember, this legacy doesn't need recognition. It just needs integrity. Do the work. Show up with love. Try even when it's hard, especially when it's hard, because every drop of effort you give today is shaping the world someone else will walk into tomorrow. That's the responsibility. That's the privilege. That's the power of effort. It's not just about your goals. It's about what your effort gives to the world long after you're gone. Keep building. Keep trying. The legacy you're creating is bigger than you. At the end of the day, when the noise dies down and the world goes quiet, you are left with one person. Yourself. No filters. No distractions. Just the person in the mirror. And that person can't be fooled. You can make excuses to others. You can wear a smile to hide your struggles. You can shift blame, delay effort, and talk circles around why you didn't do what you were supposed to. But the mirror knows. It always knows. The mirror test is simple. Can you look yourself in the eye and say, I gave it my best today? Not, I gave it when it was easy. Not, I gave it when someone was watching. But when it was quiet. When no one would have noticed if you cut corners. When you had every excuse to give less, but something inside you demanded more. Trying isn't just about chasing success. It's about staying true to your own values, your word, your principles. Because in the end, it doesn't matter what others think of you if you can't respect yourself. And respect is earned in the dark, when no one's clapping, when you push through doubt, fatigue, and fear, not for a reward, but for the satisfaction of knowing you didn't cheat yourself. A lot of people walk around looking for external validation. They want approval, attention, applause. But all of that is temporary. What lasts is the quiet confidence that comes from doing the right thing when no one else will know. That's self-trust. That's integrity. And you can't fake that. You can't buy it. You can only build it through effort. You don't have to be the best. You don't have to be the fastest, the smartest, or the most talented. But if you can look in the mirror and say, I showed up, I tried, I didn't hide from the work, then you are ahead of most. Because most people run. They run from effort, from challenge, from accountability. But you don't have to. The mirror isn't asking for perfection. It's asking for truth, for honesty, for consistency. Some days you'll have more energy. Some days your best will be stronger than others. That's human. But effort isn't about comparing yourself to yesterday or to someone else. It's about knowing you didn't take the easy way out today. We live in a time where image is everything, where people are obsessed with how things look instead of how they are. But the mirror doesn't care about your image. It cares about your substance. What you chose when no one was looking. Whether you were brave enough to hold yourself to your own standard, not someone else's. Sometimes trying means taking a break. Sometimes it means admitting you need help. Sometimes it means getting back up after a hard fall. But trying always means showing up with honesty. Not performance. Not perfection, but presence. A real, consistent presence in your own life. That's what builds confidence. Not fake positivity. Not motivational quotes. But day after day of being able to say, I faced myself today and I didn't back down. That kind of internal strength can't be taken from you. It doesn't come from titles or awards. It comes from effort, real effort, repeated effort. There will be days when no one sees your grind. No one notices the little sacrifices. No one applauds the late nights or the quiet courage. That's okay. You don't do it for them. You do it for the one person who has to live with every choice you make you. Because one day the moments you didn't give up will add up. They'll become your story, your character, your foundation. And when you face that mirror again, you'll see someone who didn't run, someone who didn't fake it, someone who didn't make excuses even when they had every reason to. That reflection, that's the reward. That's the person you've been becoming. Not through easy wins, but through effort you were never too proud or too afraid to give. So when the world goes quiet tonight and it's just you and your reflection, ask yourself, did I give what I could today? And if the answer is yes, even if it wasn't perfect, you can rest. Because you're not chasing someone else's standard. You're holding yourself accountable to your own. And that is how real confidence is built. Not in the spotlight, but in the silence. Not through the image, but through the effort. Not for others, but for the truth in the mirror. Progress doesn't always look impressive. It doesn't always come with fanfare, applause, or Instagram-worthy moments. Sometimes progress looks like showing up when you're exhausted. Sometimes it's saying no to distractions or choosing to keep going even when results are invisible. That's what effort really is. It's understanding that every step, no matter how small, moves you forward. We've been conditioned to chase quick results, instant validation, overnight success. But real growth doesn't happen like that. It's not a sprint, it's a walk, one foot in front of the other. Some days you might move an inch. Other days you might move a mile. But what matters most is that you keep moving. Because Every step counts. Trying isn't just about the big, dramatic pushes. It's about the quiet consistency that compounds over time. It's about choosing effort over ease, not once, but again and again, until it becomes who you are. You might not see the finish line yet. You might not even know if you're on the right path. But if you're trying, truly trying, you are not standing still. The truth is, most people give up not because the dream is too big, but because they underestimate the power of small steps. They think if change doesn't come fast, it's not coming at all. But the most extraordinary transformations you'll ever see, physical, emotional, professional, begin with a single choice to keep going when it would be easier to quit. There's power in one more try, one more rep, one more day of believing in yourself, one more hour of studying, practicing, or staying focused. You don't need to make a giant leap. You just need to take the next honest step. That's how momentum is built slowly, steadily, with intention. And yes, you'll stumble, you'll fall, you'll get tired. But even those moments are part of your forward motion. Because falling isn't failure, it's part of the walk. Resting isn't weakness, it's part of the process. You don't fail by slowing down. You fail only when you stop trying. So when the path feels long, remember, progress isn't about how fast you go. It's about how consistently you move. Even if you're crawling, you're still moving. Even if you're doubting yourself, but you try anyway, you're still progressing. Because effort doesn't lie. Effort adds up. Too often we wait for motivation to strike. We wait for the mood to be right, the weather to be perfect, the timing to feel just so. But what separates people who succeed from those who stay stuck is that they don't wait. They move. Even when it's inconvenient. Especially when it's inconvenient. They understand that every step, every repetition, every page, every hour of work, it all counts. Think of the people you admire most. They didn't get to where they are because they were handed success. They got there because they were willing to do the small things when no one else would. Because they knew something most people overlook: the smallest step in the right direction eventually becomes a journey of a lifetime. The best part, you don't have to have the whole plan figured out. You don't need all the answers. You don't even need certainty. You just need a reason to begin. And the discipline to continue. That's it. One decision at a time. One day at a time. Your effort today may not change your life overnight, but it will change your mindset. It will change how you view yourself. It will strengthen the belief that you are someone who doesn't give up easily. And that belief, that's everything. Because how you see yourself determines how far you'll go. So don't discount the small wins, the early mornings, the late nights, the decision to not give in, the times you showed up when you didn't feel like it. That's what builds character. That's what builds results. Every step you take, no matter how slow, is shaping your future. And when you look back, whether it's 6 months, 6 years, or even just 6 days from now, you'll see a path, a trail of effort, perseverance, and quiet victories. And you'll realize that even on the days when it felt like nothing was happening, something was happening. You were becoming stronger, more focused, more resilient, more ready. So keep going, keep trying, keep walking forward, even if you don't feel like you're moving fast enough. Because every step you take, yes, every single one, counts more than you think.